looking for Roger Campbell, but it's tipped away, and Linden forces a turnover on the first possession, and John Buck exasperated on the Lehigh sideline. Here's Khalif Crawford splitting the defense, but he is stuffed by Roger Campbell, standing 6'9", and every inch of it, all those arms up in the air, and Devontae Green with the reverse layup. Green was relatively quiet in the first half. He has 6 points. Crusaders back up by a pair. They've held the lead for the majority of the game. Here's Otis Livingston, almost travels, kicks on the rotation for Crawford. Crawford is fouled, and very quickly Devontae Green picks up his third.
Well, he got into foul trouble early in that first half, and it clearly impacted the way he was able to contribute in those first 16 minutes.
He's got the only points since the break. John Buck keeping him in the lineup. Phil Colicchio barking signals to his white-clad Tigers. Nice backdoor cut on the inbound feed. Well-run play as Monsian hits the layup to tie us at 20.
Just watching that play unfold, there was really nobody available, but he came sprinting in from out of nowhere and made a very nice play.
Nice duck under move by Roger Campbell, and Lehigh takes the lead back by a pair. Quick transition by the Tigers, good on the foul. Josh Carter with the right-hand layup, and will go to the line with a chance to put his squad in front.
Well, both teams going punch for punch now. The start of this third quarter has been very entertaining.
Chris Buckley will check out for Long Island Lutheran. Foul shot is good. Carter 2 of 3 from the line. Gives Linden a 23-22 edge. Pass into the corner, picked off nicely by Otis Livingston.
Cross-court pass like that is very dangerous, especially one that doesn't have a lot of steam on it.
Livingston now settling things down, comes off the high screen by Monsian. Dolbrice getting away with an errant pass there as it went off the leg of Roger Campbell. So Linden inbounding on the baseline with a 1-point lead. Catch and fire from the left side is just short for Livingston. Elijah Bailey took off before he put the ball down, lost it on his own hip, and ended up traveling.
Yeah, he knew it. No protest on that call, judging by his body language. Wasn't very happy with himself right there. So definitely an air of intensity here in the third quarter of our final game of the day. Oh my, that is foul number 4 on Devontae Green. And Green just turns and immediately goes to the bench. That could be a game changer. Well, John Buck has no choice but to pull him out now. One more foul, he's out of the game. He's going to need to save him for the fourth quarter. I would venture to guess we probably won't see him until then.
So with just under 6 minutes to play, Lutheran with a 1-point deficit. Boy, Otis Livingston was looking for contact there on his way to the hoop. Didn't get it. It ends up going out off the Crusaders. So the Tigers will get another opportunity.
Like I said, both teams are playing fast, but I almost get the sense, Steve, that there's not much of a flow. It seems like they're playing too fast. You're seeing players overrun passes, and there are times where the fluidity just isn't there on offense.
Yeah, this quarter started with that offensive flow as Dixon trying to change it from the right side, and he does with a tray. Biggest lead of the game for the Linden Tigers. It's a 4-point edge. Touch pass down low for Campbell, spins into traffic and loses it out of bounds. And there's the bulk of Quentin Dixon, just not letting Roger Campbell back him in on the basket.
Well, you can see why he's an impact player for this Linden team. He dribbles the ball quite well. It has nice moves inside the foul line, but he's not afraid to step back. Add a fire of the three. He's also the emotional leader for this team. It certainly means a lot to the success of this Tigers squad.
Linden now, Dole Bryce drives the baseline, looks for help underneath. The layup by Josh Carter is good. The Tigers on a run. They have a 6-point lead, and John Buck needs to chat with his Lehigh Crusaders as the Linden bench is up and applauding. The first real spurt of the game sees Linden take a 28-22 lead.
What was impressive about that sequence was the way it unfolded in traffic. Linden looked extremely composed when the lane was rather clogged.
Well, after an 18-18 halftime tie there, you see some of the distribution off the baseline drive by Dole Bryce, finding Josh Carter slicing to the hole for the layup. Linden with 18 first half points. They've scored 10 in the first 3 minutes of the third quarter. And talk about a difference of a team looking in sync. Crusaders look to be in sync to start this quarter, but Linden has taken charge here with a 6-point lead, the biggest either team has had tonight.
Well, this is a critical juncture in this game. We spoke about the fact that neither team has really been able to pull away to this point. Right now, the momentum with Linden, so let's see how Long Island Lutheran now responds out of the timeout.
And again, Devontae Green to the pine with 4 fouls. John Buck is going to have a choice as he's keeping his team in the huddle for a long time, trying to draw up something that is going to change the nature of this game. If Linden starts to open up some breathing room, does he have to take the chance and get Devontae Green back into the contest?
It's a risky proposition with 4 fouls, but you're right, if this gets up to a double-digit game, he might not have a choice.
Green listed as having 23+ points per game. One of the top scorers on Long Island. That backdoor pass is a turnover, not the well-designed play you want coming out of a timeout, as Jordan Weeks made an ill-advised pass into traffic.
Yeah, that was dangerous, right into the lane with defenders surrounding the ball.
Nice distribution for the corner. Jumper is good. Otis Livingston with a 3 on the pretty feed from Quentin Dixon. Quick answer attempt by Elijah Bailey, rims out, and it's out off Linden. Little chest bump under the basket between Quentin Dixon and Otis Livingston. You said it, said that for a big fella, he can handle the ball. That was a beautiful snap pass in traffic.
Well, Lehigh there trying to catch Linden napping back on defense, but they got back with just enough time where Elijah Bailey, the only thing he could do was take that baby jumper from the low left block.
Right corner 3 by Bailey is long, and Dixon cuffs the rebound. Well, the only thing is carrying that kind of bulk around probably limits his minutes, but there's no lack of talent. That young man is a senior, and he pulls up for the corner for 3 and back rims it long. In traffic, here comes Berkeley dribbling down the floor, goes coast to coast, misses the shot, but he hits the deck and is fouled on the play.
That was just sheer hustle right there by Chris Berkeley. He was not going to be stopped as he drove across the floor of the head of steam and drawing the contact and getting to the line and a chance for 2 freebies right here. As Lehigh needs to do some damage now, Steve. They find themselves down by 9 points.
Chris Atkinson, another double-digit scorer for the Crusaders, has been very quiet, while Linden has started to find its game slowly but surely. Berkeley, I should say, Chris Berkeley rolls the first one home. It's now an 8-point lead. And that stops what I believe was an 11-0 run. First 2 foul shots of the game for the Crusaders. Hard to imagine, but they both go. That's a foul on Jose Martinez, and a good foul, a good call by the official, because Martinez did not give Josh Carter a chance to land with the ball.
Well,
if he had taken 1 step back, he would have drawn the charge.
Sorry, Steve. Martinez out of Puerto Rico, standing at 6'9". He's only a junior, so he could do some more growing over the course of the next year or so.
There's Otis Livingston driving from the right side. He's got 10 points. And the Tigers again answer as they extend the lead to 9. Forced shot in the lane by Martinez, ill-advised shot. And a sense of urgency, perhaps desperation now showing on the Crusaders side. Nice drive for the cut and the layup by James Julius. Jawan Dolbrice with a nice dish.
What I like about this Linden team is the way they move the basketball from the mid-post in, especially when there's traffic deep inside the lane. They look so composed.
And it's Otis Livingston who averages over 7 assists a game for the team, so it's a passing-oriented offense as the baseline 10-footer is knocked down by Elijah Bailey. Get it back to single digits as it's a 9-point game. Full court pressure now being implied by Lehigh, but it's broken easily by the Tigers with numbers. Kicked out to the left side, and Josh Carter could have let that one go. I think Linden would have retained it, but he reached for the ball instinctively at the last second and ends up turning it over. Ill-advised pass by Livingston, and Carter tips it out. 2:31 to play in the third quarter. And Linden has opened this up. They had 18 points. The score was tied at 18 at halftime. Linden has recorded 17 third quarter points in an offensive outburst. Jump stop in the lane, almost a travel, but Jordan Weeks finger rolls it home with the right hand to get back within 7.
Oh, a 6'2" guard showing his vertical abilities there.
Again, breaking the pressure is Linden, attacking the basket in transition and forcing the foul that will send Quentin Dixon to the line.
Lutheran foul number 4, Chris Berkeley, his second personal foul. He gave Crusaders 15 foul.
Second foul on Chris Berkeley, the 5th on the Crusaders, only 1 on Linden. So much as in the first half, they have done an outstanding job keeping out of foul trouble. We saw St. Anthony's do that earlier in the evening in their victory over the Patrick School. If you can play good defense and stay out of foul trouble, you are doing something right, and Phil Colicchio has got this team well schooled. Dixon misses the first of 2. Team leader in rebounds. Puts up the second and gets that one to drop. And he will get a rest, going to the bench with 6 points and some quality minutes for Linden. Roger Campbell back in for the Crusaders as Jose Martinez takes a seat. In 6 minutes, Linden has matched its point total for the entire first half, opening up an 8-point lead. Atkinson swings outside. Linden looks to be playing a zone now. In fact, they are. As Berkeley looks for the baseline feed, and Roger Campbell can't handle it.
Well, that pass was way out of his reach. He was having trouble getting position down low anyway.
Jordan Walker back on the floor for the
Crusaders again showing that full court pressure, trailing by 8 with their leading scorer on the bench. Could have been a walk. Instead, it's stolen by Weeks. Weeks into the corner looking for help, finds Brown. Brown spins in traffic with a feed for Bailey. And a foul called on the play. Offensive foul. So on the step in, Elijah Bailey called for the charge. Very close to a 5-second violation on the inbound as Lehigh denying the pass. But again, Linden breaks the pressure. Now they've got numbers 3-on-1. Little bump, but Josh Carter forces it up and in. Back to a 10-point margin with 1:20 to play. And a strip here by James Julius sends it ahead for Livingston, who drives, lays it up with the right hand and in. It's a 12-point game. John Buck calls timeout. And this is in danger of getting away from the Crusaders in the final 1:15 of quarter number 3.
Well, Linden playing exceptionally well here in the third quarter, using their defense to create offense, getting out into transition, and getting some easy buckets right here.
So a game that was tied at 18 coming out of the locker room has fallen apart on Lehigh as we take a look at this inbound. And here's the build of the attack by the Tigers. Nice diagonal passing. 4 players touching the ball on the break, and the finish by Josh Carter with the layup. That's the way you draw it up. Well executed play, and you can see why this Linden team is responsible for pulling a major upset in the state in just the past week.
Well, you're right. That's the textbook way to break through a trap. Everybody positioned in the right place on the floor. Terrific ability to find the open man. Very crisp.
So we head into the final minute of the third quarter, and that won't help Lutheran's case at all as an unforced turnover. Again, they try to set up the full court pressure, but Linden has opened up a 12-point gap.
And it's been very tough on Lehigh without Devontae Green. Those 4 fouls, keeping him out of the game.
And again, they break that pressure, and here's the transition for the bucket by Monson, sorry. Fritz Monson with the hoop. 14 points now is the advantage, and with 42 seconds to go in the quarter, the worst case scenario for John Buck, 6 quick points have opened up what would have been a manageable distance into what could be an insurmountable chasm.
I'm just so impressed with the way Linden moves the ball in transition. Sign of a very experienced team.
Linden playing that zone defense that they've switched to. Left side long 3 by Atkinson is way off the mark. Atkinson settling for a shot from perhaps beyond his range. Off the scramble underneath, it goes out off Linden with 23.0 seconds to go. Another opportunity for the Crusaders to try to get on the board before the end of the quarter. Left corner, Weeks dribbles into traffic, sends off for Atkinson. Atkinson with a fall away. Here's Linden in transition, still plenty of time with 14 seconds to go and going coast to coast, but missing the layup is Otis Livingston. So back and forth we go. Crusaders now on the offense with 6 seconds. Kicked into the corner, but it's turned over by Elijah Bailey, and John Buck can just shake his head with his hands on his hips as we have finished 3 quarters of play, and a very impressive third quarter from the Linden Tigers, putting up 24 points, opening up a 42-28 lead.
Yeah, they separated themselves there again, using their defense to set up their offense, forcing turnovers. And it's going to be very tough for Long Island Lutheran to get back into this game, especially with Devontae Green now 4 fouls. Next one, he'll be out of the game, but you're seeing the difference without him on the court and what he means to this Long Island Lutheran Crusaders club.
Yeah, he scored the first basket of the third quarter, and you wondered if that would get him going, but in fact, he picked up 2 more fouls in quick succession as we look at some of the offensive flurry that allowed Linden to break this close game open.
Final quarter, we made it.
We're not there yet.
8 minutes left. I think it's a safe assumption that we're going to get there, but you're right, we're not there yet.
Aside from all the great folks, the great volunteers, the Finn family, and everyone who's contributed to the Dan Finn Classic, of course, we want to thank Vast for providing the pictures, and especially Jim Houston Productions and his whole core, a lot of folks that we know quite well, and they put in a very long day here. They were up probably at about sunrise to get this thing set up, and they've done a great job providing all the pictures and sound for you today, and we thank them so much for their efforts. As always, an outstanding job.
We have it easy. We get to go home right after the broadcast comes to an end. They may be here until sunrise tomorrow.
That's right. Jim's going to be packing up the van, and
he just shut the monitor
yeah,
down.
just for good measure, we lose our monitor as we start the fourth quarter here.
Couldn't time it any better. Oh, it's back.
Here we go. See, they're always on top of it. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, almost turned over by Linden. That could have been a walk on Otis Livingston, but they do retain. Here's Julius. Cross-court feed goes through the hands of a soaring Khalif Crawford. Here's Elijah Bailey trying to go coast to coast. He does. The basket counts and the foul. So Elijah Bailey gets the fourth quarter off to a good start for the Crusaders.
Getting to the free throw line is what they're going to have to do to get back into this game. Points on the board with the clock stopped, and take the ball inside and create those easier opportunities for yourself.
Have to have every free point that you can, though, with the clock being an enemy. And a turnover here, and there's Devontae Green, who's in the game and throws it down. Only 8 points for Devontae Green. And Phil Colicchio quite enthusiastically calling a timeout, as he is not pleased with the way his squad has started the fourth quarter. 4 straight points from Long Island Lutheran cuts the deficit to 42-32. Also worth mentioning that we are in the fourth quarter of this game, and Linden has committed 5 fouls for the entire game. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, they've played disciplined basketball defensively.
So a 30-second timeout called by Phil Colicchio, and he's giving his Tigers an earful. Wants to make sure that they know they are playing a quality opponent, and this game is far from over. I know they're going to face that full court pressure that Long Island Lutheran has shown through most of the second half. We'll see if they have an answer for it, as Jawan Dolbreis looks to inbound with Elijah Bailey guarding him. Inbound pass comes for James Julius. There's a traditional textbook press break. Livingston with the crossover and the layup. "14 points for Otis Livingston. And that's the answer that Phil Colicchio was looking for from his Tigers. Left side, here's Bailey, forces one up in traffic. It's short, but it's out off Linden. So we played 1 minute and 1 second. Crusaders have trimmed 2 points off that deficit. Baseline floater is short by Justin Brown, but the rebound is put in. Now a drive from the right side, and the basket is good, and the foul. What a move there by Josh Carter.
Transition basket. Success inside of the free throw line. That's why Linden has had the success they've had here this evening, because once again, high percentage opportunities.
And you can read the body language of John Buck on the Long Island Lutheran sideline, just hands on hips, saying every time it seems like we get a flicker of momentum, Linden takes it right back as Carter completes the three-point play, and just like that, it's back to a 13-point lead.
You know, in the first half, they weren't very composed in the high-speed game. That has definitely improved here in the second half.
Weeks loses it on his way to the basket, but a reach-in foul is called on James Julius. That's his third foul. Baseline drive by Jordan Weeks, and he's fouled. So Crusaders starting to attack the basket and forcing Linden to pick up some fouls for the first time tonight. 2 quick fouls will bring Julius to the bench.
Well, I think what we should do at the next opportunity is just thank all the Board of Trustees for coordinating another fantastic Dan Finn Classic.
And a hand check foul on Quentin Dixon, and Colicchio turns and walks the length of the Linden bench in displeasure, as 3 quick fouls have been called on his team after being relatively foul-free for 3 quarters plus. Third foul on Quentin Dixon. Dixon got a piece of that one, but he also got a piece of Devontae Green. And that's foul number 4 on Dixon.
I tell you, this game here is taking on a very chippy tempo in the fourth quarter.
Well, Lutheran High playing with a sense of urgency, attacking the basket, and really perhaps as aggressively as they've played all night, and they're getting the reward for it as Green goes to the line and hits the first.
This is really the last chance for Long Island Lutheran to make a push. Down by 12 with 6:12 left to go.
It's been almost a flailing effort to get back into this game, but right now they're just not chipping into the deficit in any significant way.
Well, they're having trouble keeping up with Linden's speed.
Second foul shot is good. Devontae Green, first trip to the line. He has 10 points. The plan B on the press break doesn't work as Devontae Green picks off the floating pass, and a spinner into the lane for Jordan Weeks has got the Long Island Lutheran squad enthused as the deficit now trimmed to 9.
I'll say this, what Long Island Lutheran has done today, they've defended the inbound very well.
Pull-up jumper from the right side by Carter, back rims out. And Colicchio wants to have a word with Carter as he calls him over to the bench. And just like that, a team that had committed only 5 fouls through 3 quarters is over the limit. 5 fouls in the entire game.
Well, this is exactly what the Crusaders need. They need to score with the clock stopped. And at 5:48 in the 3-possession game, there's still time for them to make a run and come back.
Fritz Monison called for the foul. It's his first. The 1-and-1 not converted, but Bailey grabs the offensive rebound and a stutter step by Devontae Green. And he traveled.
Look out, Fritz! Come on! Get tough!
So with 5:43 to go, Long Island Lutheran still trailing by 9. The deficit seeming a little more realistic, and that pass is another turnover almost. What a save on the far side by Josh Carter, and Phil Colicchio, seeing his team almost hand the ball away again, calls another timeout with 5:33 to play here in the 4th quarter. As well, we're enjoying basketball so much that this quarter is slowed down a little bit. We might as well stay a while.
Well, we've been here for about 11 hours, so what's another, let's
Sure.
say 20 minutes to a half hour more. But I will say this, here in the 4th quarter, Linden, they're not moving the ball as crisply as they were in that 3rd quarter. There's more of a choppy pace to their play right now.
Yeah, and it's the first time that the Tigers really have looked rattled at all. Their offense wasn't in sync so much in the first half, but that sort of was even both ways, and it's the first time that the Crusaders of Long Island Lutheran seem to have any real momentum in this contest. Question is it too little, too late? And can Devontae Green stay in the game enough to be a difference and bring his team all the way back from what was a 16-point deficit?
About 5.5 minutes left, 3-possession game, plenty of time for Long Island Lutheran to get back into this one. We're far away from the point where they would have to think about taking threes. They just continue to work on Linden inside and get to the free throw line.
What an inbound by Jawan Dolbreis, but Monison missed the shot.
We talked about all those opportunities where Linden was able to convert in traffic. Those aren't going through now.
Boy, Justin Brown looked like he got hammered on the way to the basket. And John Buck is apoplectic on the Crusader bench. The ball is held, and on the alternating possession, Lutheran will keep it. That's a case where I believe the last 5 fouls have been called for Linden, and the referee swallowed their whistles on that one as Justin Brown was going to the basket with a purpose. Elijah Bailey goes glass, absorbs contact and puts it home. It's a 7-point game. And that pass is almost picked off by Devontae Green, but here are the Tigers in transition, and the block is called on Roger Campbell, who thought he drew the charge.
This game has definitely taken on an aggressive physical tone that we hadn't seen in the first 3 quarters.
Well, again, Chris Atkinson and Devontae Green went to the bench with 2 fouls each in the first quarter, and that set the stage for a difficult first half offensively for Long Island Lutheran. We're seeing them perhaps in their best rhythm of the night, although Devontae Green is on the floor with 4 fouls. Here's a 1-and-1 for Josh Carter, and he misses the front end. And Phil Colicchio can only extend palms to the ceiling, wondering what's going on with his Tigers right now. Pull-up jumper by Green from the foul line is just short, and here's the release, 2-on-0, and there's the quick transition break, leading to a layup by Linden. And a timeout is called as Josh Carter with the finish makes it a 9-point game yet again.
Well, that was a much-needed basket to stop this Lou High momentum.
Now what a swing. That's Devontae Green. He's the person whose hands you want the ball in. A 7-point game. If he hits that shot, it's down to 4. He misses it, and instead Linden releases and goes the length of the floor for a layup. And we have a 9-point game again, and it seems as though Linden may have dodged the bullet in that respect.
And I think that was a smart timeout right there by Phil Colicchio. Calm his team down and use that basket as a springboard to re-extend this lead.
We mentioned Long Island Lutheran coming in with a 10-1 record. These teams did see each other, at least in appearance, early in the year. They played in the same tournament back in December. They did not play against each other, however. And in that tournament, the Crusaders absorbed their only loss of the season. That was to Seton Hall Prep. Linden first out of the huddle. A 24-10 third quarter.
Keep moving.
Spelled the difference for the Linden Tigers, giving them a lead that they have not relinquished. It's been trimmed to as close as 7. But the Crusaders have not been able to get any nearer than that, as they do have the ball trailing by 9. We're inside 5 minutes to go.
Talk.
Here's Justin Brown. Drive on the baseline. That pass is tipped away nicely by Josh Carter. Here's Linden on the move. Here's Livingston. Livingston splits, lays it home. Otis Livingston brings it back to an 11-point lead.
Once again, composure in traffic and executing well in transition. It's been a prevailing theme for this Linden team here this afternoon, actually this evening.
Three-pointer from the left side by Bailey is good. Elijah Bailey with a three-pointer. (51-43). Linden by 8. Midway point of the fourth quarter. Lehigh bench trying to exhort their teammates on, and that's a steal. A bad pass is picked off by Justin Brown. And here's Brown on the run.
Basket here makes it a 2-possession game.
Green kicks left side for Bailey for 3, short. Elijah Bailey felt it, just drained that 3, but came up a little bit short on the repeat performance. Linden with numbers now 4 on 2, but decide to pull it back and set up the offense.
Yeah, they don't have to rush here. They're the ones with the 8-point lead. Composure, that's important here.
Kick to the corner, good ball rotation by the Tigers, and again they'll settle it as Khalif Crawford didn't feel the opening. And sets things up. So for the first time this quarter, we take a breath. Split into the lane. Wild shot by Khalif Crawford is rejected by Roger Campbell. Here's Justin Brown on the move. Loses it. It comes to Weeks, almost travels. And then a foul on the play. The shot won't go, but it will result in free throws.
This is the right approach now for Long Island Lutheran. Get inside, draw contact, and get to the free throw line and score some points with the clock stopped.
Fritz Monison called on the foul. That's his second, 8th on the Tigers. 3:08 to go, clock stops. And the unfriendly rim doesn't help Jordan Weeks. One more shot for Weeks. Crusaders 4 of 5 from the line on the game. Second foul shot attempt is up and short. And the rebound grabbed by Julius, who's in the game with 4 fouls. And Crawford is called for the travel. A lot of body contact allowed to go there. And Crawford forced into the walk.
Oh, yeah, Linden hanging on by the skin of its teeth right now.
Phil Colicchio, I think, giving the officiating crew an earful on that sequence. There's Justin Brown way behind the arc, and I don't think that's the shot John Buck wanted. Well, if Linden is able to hold on in this game, it will not be for lack of opportunities for the Lehigh Crusaders to get back into it. They've worked hard on defense, but Linden has had the answers when they've needed them. Here's Livingston attacking the basket, the duck under, and Khalif Crawford is fouled. But when they've broken the press, it has resulted in some primo scoring opportunities. That pressure started getting them back into the game, but Devontae Green has just fouled out, and that may sign the last chance of this game for the Crusaders.
Well, he hung on as long as he could, but he got into early foul trouble in that first half, and he just wasn't the same player since.
Unofficially 10 points on the game for Devontae Green. John Buck chatting with his team during the 30 seconds allocated after a foul out. With 2:45 to go, the Linden Tigers have posted 33 points so far in the second half. That's enough to open up an 8-point advantage.
For the Tigers, shooting 2.
Crawford with 2 shots misses the first.
Well, we would like to recognize the Board of Trustees who did such a wonderful job putting together another terrific Dan Finn Classic, the 11th year of the tournament or the Classic's existence.
Come on, be smart now. Talk.
Starts with Bob Louderhop, the chairman. Came up with this idea a number of years ago.
And there's a turnover as Crusaders just playing out of control. Dolbright stepped in with the steal.
Ed Finn, Bob Hurley, of course, St. Anthony's coach, Steve Ricciardi, Rich Dwyer, Bob Riker, Marianne Convoy, Pat Pasculi, former New York Giant Leonard Marshall, Brigadier General James J. Grant.
Right corner jumper by Khalif Crawford makes it an 11-point game. That may just about put it away for the Linden Tigers as we hit 2 minutes.
Former standout basketball player Carol Blazejowski, Mike Marum, and John Forrester give him a great deal of credit once again putting together an outstanding tournament. Steve, they cross the T's, dot the I's. They've made this a destination showcase for the state of New Jersey, and give them a great deal of credit once again, raising awareness. And
James Julius fouled out of the game on that possession, and as Elijah Bailey waits to go to the line to shoot 2, Phil Colicchio is going to use his allocated 30 seconds for the disqualification and talk to his team and make sure that in the last 123 seconds they don't do anything foolish and squander what has been a pretty impressive performance, especially in this second half.
Today, just a celebration of charity, selflessness, giving. All in all, a wonderful event, and I'm sure we're going to be back here for years to come.
We've talked about the heavy heart with the loss of Jersey City Police Officer Detective Melvin Santiago a year ago. His life was celebrated tonight, and again, it's just such an example to his family. We saw his mother out here and his brother earlier this afternoon, perhaps this morning, I guess. But the Finn family has chosen to celebrate their son's life, and the hurt certainly would never go away to lose someone at the young age of 23, as Detective Santiago was. Dan Finn was just 24. But you can turn it about as positive as you can and make it a celebration of what made that person so special, and that is what the Dan Finn Invitational is, what it has become, and how so many people have been helped by a family out of a tragedy, and people who just refuse to be denied. I mean, refuse to let this derail their lives, and said, we're going to make the most out of this, and they have. 2-shot foul for Otis Livingston, as it's a 9-point game with 2 minutes to go. And you know what it really does, Seth, as Livingston makes the first. That's a big foul shot, making it a 10-point game. We get caught up. We've been here for bordering on 11 hours now. And you can get caught up in the basketball and the wonderful athleticism we've seen on display from the young men and women who have taken the floor today. But there is a perspective, there is a reality check when one remembers why it is that we're here in the first place.
an opportunity to gather, bring everybody together to celebrate that one common theme of giving that we talked about earlier. That's why everybody's here today.
Well, before we get into wrap-up mode, Justin Brown hits a jumper for the right side, so that brings Long Island Lutheran back to within 8 points, 55-47. Minute 51 to go. Still plenty of time, although Devontae Green, the Crusaders' leading scorer, is on the bench with 5 fouls. Timeout on the floor with a minute 51 to go. We've established that the horns are working quite properly here at the Jersey City Armory. Linden inbounding on the baseline. Quentin Dixon is back into the game. He's got 4 fouls. He picked up 3 in a hurry in this second half. Here's Khalif Crawford. Would be in the double bonus on fouls the rest of the way, so the Crusaders will only foul if they really need to, and they don't need to. Oh, that was almost turned over as Josh Carter rescues the possession. Lutheran having to extend now, trying to trap, and Livingston dribbles out of traffic, looking for help. Almost lifted the pivot foot. What a reverse layup by Josh Carter, and that's probably going to put this one away. Right side 3 is long by Chris Atkinson, and now Linden, as we approach the 1 minute mark, 63 seconds away from a hard-fought victory over a quality opponent.
Yeah, this was impressive. Well, their energy level and their composure started to fade, and I think that Lou High deserves a lot of credit because they clearly didn't play their best game through the third quarter, but this is a quality victory against a team that's highly regarded in New York State.
See that neat little spinning finger roll reverse layup by Josh Carter. Now Otis Livingston, who is 3 out of 4 from the line, has 1 more.
Linden's a tough team. This is another team that's going to be very competitive as the season continues to progress and the postseason approaches. They will be a force to be reckoned with in the state of New Jersey.
Again, after this game, be sure to stay with us for the presentation of our players of the game as Elijah Bailey takes the free layup given. We're inside a minute to play, and Linden holding a 58-49 lead. They break the full court pressure yet again, and Otis Livingston smartly dribbles it out. And sailing over to commit the foul is Jose Martinez. So with 43.9 to go, Livingston goes back to the line. You can see the fatigue written on Jordan Weeks as he holds the bottom of the trunks, awaiting the free throws by Otis Livingston. It's a 2-shot foul. We're into the double bonus. So Livingston misses the first. Still a glimmer of hope for the 3-possession game, but really not much for the Crusaders. And that last bit probably fades with that foul shot.
Well, now you're looking at a 4-possession game.
Left side Bailey for 3. That one rims out. Offensive rebound put up and in by Jordan Weeks. John Buck calls timeout, but with 37.7 seconds to go, the options are dwindling for the Crusaders, who still trail by 8. Story of this game was the third quarter. We were tied at 18 points at halftime, and the Linden Tigers came out with a roar with 24 third quarter points. And that has been the decisive period during this contest.
I like that last sequence. Lou High trailing by 8 points here, and they've been outplayed for much of this second half, but playing right to the end, using an offensive rebound to create a second chance opportunity. That's a sign of a team that's still hustling.
Again, folks, be sure to stay with us after the game. We're going to stay on until the final players of the game are awarded. We will have that presentation made after the conclusion of this contest. And then we will bid you adieu for the year 2015 Again, I'd just like to say a personal thanks. This is the 4th year that I've had the opportunity to work the Dan Finn Classic, and seeing the Finn family here year in and year out, what they do and how hard everyone works. It may sound like hyperbole, and it certainly sounds repetitive by this point in the day, but it couldn't be more sincere how nice it is to be a part of this occasion as Linden gets the ball inbound, and Chris Atkinson thumps Jawan Dolbrice to pick up the foul. Third foul on Atkinson, and with 33.7 to go, Lehigh trying to play till the final second and retain that shred of hope.
Well, I think a point not to be missed here is the fact that everybody working this event, from the ticket takers to those doing the concession stand to everybody at the scorers table, they're unpaid volunteers, and they do this out of the goodness of their own heart. And again, we talk about the theme of selflessness and giving. Look no further than those folks who are so giving of their time today to make sure that this tournament went off without a hitch.
2 foul shots are good as Atkinson kicks it into the corner for Weeks for 3. That's long. The rebound is corralled by Dolbrice, and we'll see if the Crusaders continue to foul. They look to be tracking it down as there's 19 seconds to go in the game. It's a 10-point game, and in fact, Jose Martinez does commit the foul despite the horse being out of the barn. In this one, it's a 10-point lead for Linden. Again, this is a game that was tied at 18 at halftime, and the Linden Tigers have established themselves here in the second half. Otis Livingston back to the line to shoot 2. First one is good. "16 seconds from the end of a full day of basketball here in Jersey City." Steve Walsh and Seth Cantor, I want to thank you so much for joining us, for being a part of the Dan Finn Classic. Here's Chris Atkinson, kicks to the corner. Baseline jumper is short by Justin Brown. Rebound is grabbed by Quentin Dixon. And with 5 seconds to go, they're going to let this one play out as Otis Livingston brings it into the forecourt, and that will do it. The 2015 Dan Finn Classic is in the books. Our final contest of the day sees the Linden Tigers defeat Long Island Lutheran by a score of 63-51. It was the most competitive contest of the day, and a very impressive effort by Linden against a solid Lutheran team.